welcome to the Wayfaring Panda. I'm Annette. Today I'm making a jungle-themed wiper card using products from several different stamp companies. This video is part of a YouTube hop with Team Tiny, and our theme today is mixing and matching products from different stamp companies. My first product that I'm using is called Tropical Settings from Sunny Studios, and it's a border stamp. And there's different ones. So when I saw this at the store, I realized it would work really well with my wiper dies from Mama Elephant. I've made one of these before, but with the ocean one, and I only used one wiper mechanism. This time I'm going to try to put a wiper mechanism on the top and bottom. So I really only need 2 of these stamped images, but I made 3 and put space in between them just in case one didn't work out right, because you need to have enough room to hide the wiper mechanism. So I'm stamping my stamp with Rustic Wilderness, and I'm using my stamping platform to do it, so that way I can stamp it several times. And then I heat emboss it with clear embossing powder. Now I'm using my wiper dies from Mama Elephant, and this is to cut out the card back. And I tried doing this earlier with my magic mat from scrapbook.com, but it didn't score really well. So now I'm using my original plastic plate on the bottom. For the front of the card, you need to cut out another panel, just like you did before, and then you could cut that with a hillside die or something like that. But since I already made these from panels, I'm going to run them through with this rectangle die cut scoring thing. I don't know what to call it, plate. And I'm just kind of finagling to make sure I make it big enough so that it'll hide the mechanism, but not so large that the middle of the card won't show. Now each of these pieces will have 2 score lines on one side. So first of all, score it away from you and then fold it over and score it towards you. And you'll do that both with this back panel and with the panels that I made to go on front. Now I'm just doing the same thing with the other panel. Next, I'm using my Lawn Fawn banner die to cut out a banner for my sentiment, and then I'm cutting out some of the wiper mechanisms. It comes with 5 different ones, I think it's 5, so that they work differently and have different heights to them so you can get different looks. I don't know which ones I'm going to use. I know I'll need 2 of them, so I'm just cutting out several different ones. I also had some from other projects. The wiper elements have score lines, and they also have a little elephant on each one because it's Mom Elephant. But the elephant shows you which way to face it whenever you do the folding and glue it. So the idea is that the elephant is where you put the glue and you fold away from it on the score lines, and also the way that the elephant faces, his feet should be facing down. However, since I'm doing a top and bottom, the top will be different, since this is really the elephant goes with it on the bottom. Also, I think I turned my card base the opposite way, so everything's kind of backwards on my card, so I had to kind of finagle things and try to figure out how to glue it on to get it to work. So I just wrote an E on some of these so you can see where the elephant is and which way it's facing. On my previous wiper cards, I colored the background with distress ink, and the part that was hiding it, like the ocean, I did with Copic markers. So this time I'm coloring the background and my elements with Nuvo Shimmer powder, and this is Falling Leaves. I thought that would look good for a jungle, and also I was hoping it would help speed up the process since this is kind of an involved one. Now the one thing I did notice is because all the water keeps pooling in the cracks, I would advise if you do this to not do your score lines until after you're finished doing this. And this is the reason I did the embossing over my ink, but it looked like it bled a little bit, so I must not have got the embossing powder over all of the leaves. But it still worked out because the green ink still showed up because it's lighter than the shimmer powders. Now I do get a brush out because I wanted the green to show to cover everything, because I didn't want any white showing, but then some of your colors don't show. So I keep going over it with water and trying to move it around so that I get a little bit of different colors, but also get it covered. Shimmer powders are really fun to use because it's fun watching them kind of move and do different things. I used to like watching other people use these before I got some of my own. And I still like watching it because they all do different things. The other thing, they also make your paper shimmery. Next, I'm going to use my Lawn Fawn stamps. And this first stamp set is called Toucan Do It. And then I'm going to use the toucan from there and some leaves. And then I'm also using this other one called Critters in the Jungle. And from that one, I'm going to use the monkey and the vine and some of the leaves. So I decided I was going to use my Lawn Fawn jet black ink to do my toucan and the flowers because toucans are black anyway. And then I switched to a Lawn Fawn crunchy leaf. And all of these are Copic friendly. So I switched to that because I thought the monkey would look better with the brown. Now I do cut these out and color them off screen so the video wouldn't be super long. And I do use Copic markers. I'll list the colors that I use in the description below. There'll be quite a few because I'm making kind of a colorful jungle look. Now on the ones from the Critters in the Jungle, I do have the dies for those, so I use my die cuts to cut those out. And the other images I cut out with my brother's Scan and Cut. Next, I'm using the sentiment Have a Wild Day from the Toucan Do It and stamping that onto my banner. And since it's wavy, I can put on an acrylic block and then I can manipulate the stamp so that it's bent just like the banner. That's the one good thing that's with the clear stamps. You can do that. I use the Crunchy Leaf stamp pad to stamp the sentiment onto my card so it'll kind of match everything. And then I use my blending tool to go around the edges with some old paper distress ink. That has a little bit of shade of green so it matches, but it's not so dark that it's going to take away from the sentiment, as I didn't want just a stark white banner on my card. Now that the paper is dried, I'm ready to assemble the card. So you put the flat part against the raised part, and then the part that's folded over goes on the flat part of the bottom piece. I think you can see it better than I can explain it. And then you just use some strong tape. Glue will probably not be strong enough to hold this card, so I'm using scrappy tape because it's pretty strong to attach to just one side. You don't want to attach it all because you want to be able to access the inside of the card to put your wiper mechanisms inside. I played around with my mechanisms a little bit to figure out which ones would work best. Like I said before, I normally would put the glue on the elephant, but since my card is kind of reversed, I'm putting on the opposite side of the elephant, but you'll see when I put the glue on, the E is facing down like it normally would. The other thing is that you glue the elephant, that part of the tab, onto the part of the card that's coming up, that little kind of small piece that's sticking up. So that's where you glue it. And this is why this is exactly a video tutorial and just not a verbal or written tutorial, because pictures and video does wonders for complicated things like this. So I just kind of try to make sure it's working, which is kind of hard to do until you glue it in and put it together, but I can see that it is. I'm just trying to straighten it so my bird will go the way I want it to go. Now that I'm sure the mechanism is working, I use my scrappy tape to attach the bird to the top of the mechanism. Now that I got the bird how I wanted, I'm just using my scrappy tape to attach the other side of the bottom panel. I had a lot of trouble figuring out how to do the monkey because when you do the top, it's completely backwards and upside down. It does help if you turn it around, but still, I was having trouble figuring out which way to fold everything and attach it. So I had done it a long time, and so my camera battery died. So this is the next day, and I finally figured out I want to use the longer piece, and I think I figured out which way to put it. Once again, I'm attaching my adhesive to the corner where the elephant is. Now, on this time, I decided to use the scrappy tape because it's a bigger piece. I did add a little bit of glue to the corner where the scrappy tape is. I did that first, so that way I can move it a little bit and finagle it to make sure it's not hitting my toucan and to make sure the mechanism is going up and down. When you only use one panel, you'll put the mechanism on that part that sticks up on card base, but since there's not a card base that sticks up on the other side, you stick it onto the panel. So in this case, the foliage. So you put that in that part that sticks up when it moves. Hopefully you can see that in the video. It's hard to describe. Now that I have my mechanism working how I want it, I'm adding my vine and my monkey. I have made 2 other card videos using wipers, and they only used one panel, so they were a little bit easier. One of them was using that ocean that I had earlier on this Sunny Studio stamp, and one was just using a hillside border, and that was with Hello Bluebird stamps having a snowball fight. So that was just a hillside border that I used on that one. My bird mechanism was kind of snagging a little bit, so I'm going underneath and trimming off a little bit of the mechanism, which you can do as long as you trim the part after where it's creased, because you don't want to trim that off because that's the part that makes it work. And also, if your tab is too long, you can cut that part off too. Then I use the scrappy tape again to attach the final side to the card base. And you'll see I have a little bit of trouble getting the paper off the scrappy tape on this one. I don't know why. So I use my glue dots to attach my sentiment, and I almost put it over the crease. So you want to make sure whatever you're gluing on the front or inside, because you can glue inside, just make sure it's not in the way of the mechanism so that your critters are moving, but also you don't want to have where your score lines can't move either. So I'm using the glue dots to pop up my sentiment just a little bit, and also the flowers. I didn't want to put too much dimension because there's already so much going on it and it's already thick. Then I used my glue to attach the rest of the foliage. When I did stamp, I made quite a bit and I colored all of them. I didn't think I'd end up using them all, but I always like having extra just in case. And also then you can save what you didn't use, but I ended up using all of it. I'll put a list of all the products that I'm using in the description below. Some of these will be affiliate links. They don't cost you anything extra to use, but I do get a small commission from any sales that the links generate, and that helps support my site. As I mentioned earlier, this is part of a hop with Team Tiny. To see the other participants, just click on the hashtag in the description below, or type in hashtag Team Tiny July 2022 hop. And that'll populate a list of all the other participants in this hop. And hopefully you'll get some more inspiration of using different stamp companies. So look through your stash and see what things you can combine, and that'll help you make more things without buying a lot more things. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please give it a like. Hopefully it inspires you to try out doing a wiper card. There's so many different possibilities with this type of card. Also, maybe you'll like to do some of the techniques that I used in this card. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you're not already a subscriber, I'd really appreciate if you can subscribe to my channel. If you're already a subscriber, thank you for your continued support. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day.